Hey, good morning, guys. Welcome back to the Rod Shop. Today we're going to be talking about the rod that everyone should have in their arsenal, plus some custom epoxy marbling underneath an exposed reel seat. So y'all stick around. Okay. A week ago, Nathan gets a phone call from the Fort Meade Fishing Club, which is a junior high school club about 40 minutes south of us here. And Nathan has helped out with that club, and we donated, actually Dave B donated a bunch of gear. He gave me a bunch of gear to donate somewhere, and a lot of that went to those guys 2 weeks ago. And they called and wanted to know how much it would be to buy 3 custom rods for their award ceremony to give away as prizes. So I thought about it for about 5 seconds and decided that they can't buy them. We're going to build them for them for free, just because all of this YouTube crap that I have done is all about and geared toward educating and encouraging the next generation of fishing. And that from the AE Fishing channel, where I do, I explain how to fish, or I at least explain how I fish the Central Florida mud puddles all around here, the shallow lakes, and how we can find fish, to the Rod Shop, where I would encourage 20-year-olds to get involved in rod building and not wait until you're 50 like most of us did. I was in my mid-30s, but you guys know that story where I didn't have any money and I needed better equipment, so I decided to build my own. And even the boat building channel, Swamp Cat Boat Works, where we're rehabbing older boats to make it more affordable for people to get into serious bass fishing. Anyway, that's the motivation. I said, nope, you're not paying for them. We're going to build them. Here's the rods that we chose because on a very short timetable. It's what I had in the shop, and it's what I think every fisherman should have in their arsenal, especially if you're a beginner fisherman or if you're a beginning rod builder. And it's durable. The blank is an RX6 843, which is a 7-foot medium heavy, fast. It's the workhorse rod. The RX6 has a lot more resin in it. It has a higher resin percentage than some of the other rods that I build on, which makes them, I'm not going to say indestructible, but almost. Anyway, they will handle a lot more mistakes when handling a fish or dealing with ceiling fans and car doors and the like, especially when we're talking about younger anglers who aren't quite as experienced yet. Even I make mistakes fighting a fish in snap rods. Happens. But these rods I hope to be very durable. So we're starting with the 843. Nathan has already glued up the carbon fiber split grips. Ready. They are ready for epoxy. One of the issues that we had, and it's not really an issue, it's an opportunity. At least an opportunity to show you guys something that I've done in the past, but I don't think I really explained how I did it. And that is, we have an exposed reel seat that does not fit the blank type. This is one of those situations where this reel seat, which I do like, this is the P seat from American Tackle. They come in one size. And normally I would use a carbon fiber insert and glue that into the reel seat and then slide that down into position. However, the diameter of the blank here at 11 1/4 trigger is too large for the inside diameter of the insert. So what we're going to do, I don't like the slop. It is large enough. You could do 2 things here. One, you could just put a coat of clear, thin epoxy in the area where the blank is exposed, or what we're going to do is we're going to add a little flare. I did some Facebook snooping and got some pictures of those guys in their jerseys. And their jerseys are steel gray with some black paint splotch kind of things trailing off. So we're going to try to mimic their jerseys with the marbling. And then I got with my buddy at mud hole, the Fort Meade Club sent me their logo. It is above my label printer's capacity because I can't print but in one color. And I want to do something special for them, and it's only, you know, I think they're like $6 or $8. I don't know how much they are. I just haven't printed. I sent it to Don Morse, who came over to Foundation. Well, he came to Mudhole from American Dackle when they all came into one umbrella under Foundation, and he's really great at taking care of this stuff. I emailed him the PNG file. They'll be printed. He did the ones for the Make-A-Wish rods that we just finished up. They look great. So we're going to have steel gray, black splotches, and then the yellow Fort Meade Fishing logo on it. So let's get started with the epoxy. Now we need to do a little bit of layout first. So what I want to do is I do not want to fully cover the entire underneath of the reel seat in the epoxy. I still would like, and it's not absolutely necessary, but I still would like there to be some direct contact, glue contact between the reel seat and the blank itself. So I'm going to measure where my exposed part of my reel seat is going to be, where the exposed part is going to be. I'm going to measure, I'm going to mark it with tape, and then we're going to decide, I think, what is that? That's Nathan's. Yep, that was where he splined it. So we're going to figure out how much bling we're going to put to it, I guess. So what I think we're going to do is we're going to marble from the rear grip to the butt grip, and then we're going to have a little bit of marbling in here in the middle to cover the exposed area, and then we're going to have marbling a certain distance out here, and I think I'm probably going to have it match up to that distance, which is about 115 millimeters. So let's just start with that. So the reel seat is seated where it's supposed to be. I'm going to pull a piece of tape. I'm going to go out here 115 millimeters, and I'm just going to put some tape down to mark. And the only thing you really need to consider is, one, do you like the way it looks, and two, where your label's going to be. Now we're going to have a reel seat. we're going to have a hook keeper here or here. Haven't decided yet, but if the hook keeper's here, the logo is going to be here. If it's the other way around, we switch it. But at 115, we have room to do, it's actually about, I guess it is 115. We have room to do either. So let's, I'm going to put this tape down so that I can, before the epoxy dries, I can peel it up so I get a nice crisp, clean line, especially since it's going to be colored. And then we'll go out here 20 to 70. That's where I want the color. And then 115 is where I want to start color again. So 20, 70, 115. So we got 20. Sorry about my hand in the way, guys. I try to get this where you can see what I'm doing and still be able to do it. That's our 20 millimeter mark. And then let's do a 70 millimeter mark. And then, what did I say, 120? And yep, we'll do 120. Whoop, that side of the tape is 120. Okay. Not so much worried about crisp lines in here. because it'll be out of sight. I'm going to take that fold out of it. Let's check it one more time. So none of the tape is visible, so that's where we're going to be doing exposed. Is that everything we need? Yeah, I think it is. So what we're going to do now is let's get the reel seat off. Well, first thing I want to do is I'll write it down. Just so it's easier to do the layout. So we've got let's call that 25. So our first tape outside is 25. And then we have 70 to the second tape. And then we have 120 to the outside edge of the third one. And then, see, that is 150 there. And then we have 85, so 235 to that tape. Okay. So we'll have marble, no marble, marble. Okay, so now I've got my measurements. Let's get this reel seat off and out of the way. Get it locked back down in power wrapper here, just because it's easier to do this when it's locked down. And you notice we have not put the butt cap on it or balanced it, only because with the EVA butt grip on, it would be more difficult to get a nice crisp edge on the marbling here. Same thing with the reel seat, other than wanting to marble underneath it. If I wasn't doing an under marbling in the exposed area, I still prefer to do the marbling without the reel seat on. It's just easier. You don't have to worry about cleaning up. You just keep it right clean here, clean there, boom, and you don't get epoxy on your EVA. You just got to get clean, and you don't get epoxy on your reel seat. So let's get some epoxy out. And get started on the epoxy work. Okay, cup. Now we're going to need a couple because we got two colors. I'm also going to use a pan. And two brushes. Okay, we've got our colors. I don't have a flat like steel gray, but I have classic silver, which I'm going to knock down with some black to try to get a steel gray look out of it. I've got night sky, which is our black. I've got a pan because I'm going to do some custom blending and try to get a recipe so these all look the same. And then I'm going to have a cup that I'm going to mix the classic silver in, a cup that I'm going to mix the night sky in. We'll do the blending. We'll get that on, and then I'll still have a clean brush for the night sky to put the accent pieces in there. So let's mix up. I'm going to mix up about 4 cc's of both colors, just so I have plenty to work with. I probably won't need all that to cover all of this in one coat of epoxy would be about 4 cc's. You might could get away with 3, but since I'm doing custom blending and I'm not sure how much of the night sky that I'm going to have to put in the classic silver to get the steel I'm looking for, I'm going to have a bunch extra. All right, so let's do 4 parts of black in both. We'll do 4 cc's of each. And we're going to do 4 cc's of black in each cup. So there's 4. And there's 4. Put the cap back on it. Top back on your syringe. Don't get them mixed up. I know I say that every time, but it's important, and I have done it. So you're not immune to it. I don't care how many rods you built. You get distracted, you're gonna make a mistake, and it's gonna cost you either some time or some money or both. So let's pull 4 of the white part, which is the actual epoxy part. Ah. The black is the hardener. There's 4. Okay, now I've got them in a cup. If you get sidetracked here, it's not that big a deal because they can sit there for a while until you actually start mixing them. They don't necessarily mix much, just laying on top of each other. So, but we're gonna mix them. We're gonna mix each one for about 2 minutes, clear, and then we'll start adding epoxy, and you'll get the rest of your mix once you get your epoxy mix. So so it is 8:10:30. And I'm not coordinated enough to mix 2 at the same time. Not even close. So I mix that one for about 30 seconds. I mix this one for about 30 seconds. I'm going to swap back and forth. We're at 72 degrees in the rod shop here, so we should have plenty of time with this epoxy. We're not too hot in here. Still a little cloudy, so it's not mixed thoroughly yet, but after about a minute, typically, as soon as when you first mix them together, it's going to get really cloudy. And when the cloudiness disappears, it's mixed. And I'm starting to pick up some bubbles, so that'll be fine. When we put the color pigment in, it usually knocks the bubbles down, and if not, we'll throw some heat on it. Now when you buy these pigments from Mudhole, they come with a little plastic scoopers. I don't use that. I use my X-Acto knife, more like a shovel. Starting to clear up here now. The streaking is gone, so this first one is about mixed. This one is getting there. Alright, so let's add some pigment. So the first one I want to really get is I'm going to get a steel gray going. So we got classic silver, and I'm just going to do what I would call a shovel full, and that's how much will sit on the edge of an X-Acto knife blade. And I'm going to need another stirring device for a minute. And let's go ahead and put the black, the night sky, in the other. Again, I'm going to put a whole shovel full. Alright, let's start mixing the silver. Which that is pretty cool, just like it is. It's not as bright as I thought it was going to be. May not knock that down much at all. That's pretty good. It's not really opaque. One thing you can tell, I mean, it looks very black in the cup, or it looks very whatever color you're mixing in the cup. But you got to understand that you're looking through, you know, a ½ inch worth of epoxy. What you can do to get a good idea of how opaque or not it is put it on a white mixing stick. Now that's not jet black. It was not enough pigment in 4, which was actually 8 cc's of the mix to make that where it's not a little bit translucent. A lot of times I like that look, but I'm going to add a little bit more of the night sky to this so I get that really jet black look to it. So I'm going to add about a half of a shovelful. What is on? Oh, you know what I did? I wiped it in an area that had a little bit of epoxy, so I've got a little bit of epoxy on my X-Acto knife blade, which is causing the pigment to stick to it. Usually it just pops right off. What do I do with my alcohol? Oh. Okay. Now let's mix that up. Made a mess with the black here. Alright, now that's quite a bit darker. You don't see any white of the mixing stick coming through. So that's the color I want for the black. The silver is, yeah, it's, actually I kind of like that. Well, I'm going to put it in the pan here, because if you lay it out flat in a pan, or you can just use aluminum foil over a plate, or another little device that I have that I'll tease you with that later. It's another printed, 3D printed Now, that's kind of what it's going to look like. And I don't know, that's pretty cool. But I think I want a drop or two of the black in it to darken it up a little bit. Although it's going over black, it should be okay, but I want... Now you got to be careful putting black into something else, because it is a dominant color, and I know for a fact now that I mix way too much black. So let's just swirl it around here with a brush and see what we come up with. Alright, I think we're going to go with this. Let's give it a whirl here. I got to get it on. Clock is ticking. We're 8 minutes into this mix now. So what I'm going to do is actually I'm going to put it into wrap mode, just so I can control speed. And I'm going to dump this basically on the blank and then start getting it back off. Put it on the right motor works better. Let's flip it onto this motor. Okay, now what we're going to do, we're just going to kind of pile it on, just as heavy as we can to keep it from running off. Now when you're epoxying marbling over carbon fiber grips, I would recommend it to be in at least 2 different applications, because over the carbon fiber you're going to want the first coat to be very thin, because it has quite a bit of air trapped in the carbon fiber fibers, and in the polyurethane foam that's underneath it. Let's just get it covered. Well, I'm going to be short. And one thing I absolutely want to get covered is this part of the blank. And I may be short epoxy. I probably should have mixed 6 and 2 or 6 and 3 instead of 4 and 4. I'm just scraping some of the excess off. Putting it right back in my pan. Now let's see if we got enough to get the rest of this blank done. At least the first coat. Now at this point you just want to make sure you've got the entire area that you want marbled to have at least some epoxy on it. The great thing about marbling is it never comes out like you expect it to, but it always comes out pretty cool. But the key to that is just making sure you have every area that you want to marble covered with enough epoxy. And see, I've got way too much in here, I think, because this is where it matters with thickness of the epoxy. This is the exposed real seed area. And then down here, well, that was kind of cool. I'm going to see if I can swirl that like I swirled the handle. I like it. Now, I'm going to do a little black to it. Because they have, like I said, just dots in their jerseys. Like I said, this is the fun part. You just get to play. Have some idea what you want it to look like when you start, and be prepared to be excited and surprised with the outcome. Not really going to do much in here because I don't want to get too thick in there. And I've got it turning really slow because I don't want it to really swirl too much. And I'm turning this in the wrap mode with my power wrapper pedal, and it's turning at, I don't know, maybe 2 RPMs. But this is the pedal upgrade I showed you guys in a couple videos ago. It gives me the ability to do this. if you get your settings right, you can turn it as slow as you want to turn it. What I'm doing is I'm holding a ball of epoxy that's trying to drip, but it's holding together pretty well just by spinning my brush. And I'll put a little dot right there, and I'm just holding it. When you get to this point time-wise, and we are 17 minutes in, this epoxy is really starting to get tacky, but you can still manipulate it if you're careful. I mean, I can put some heat on it and make it run, but I don't want this to run. I want to hold those designs in it where I had the brush going this way, and then I did a barber pole pattern, kind of swirl there, there, and there. I am going to put some heat on the middle here because I've got a few bubbles popping up, and I want it to be really flat and not have a whole lot of excess in it. But in order to do that, I got to stop turning at this speed, because I'm not prepared. My heat gun is probably not in here because I was using it out in the dirty side, and I forgot to bring it back. But my flamethrower is within reach, maybe. I'll use it once I get to that point. In fact, we're getting close to that now. I got sticky fingers. Well, let's see if I can get my hands clean. I'll clean up some tools here before this epoxy totally sets. You can throw your little white sticks away, but I just wipe them down and use them again. Alright, now for the tricky part is retrieving my flamethrower without, see, I did it. See, I am doing this with toe control completely. Ooh, it's a little hot. There we go. And you can see the epoxy falling around where I heated it, and it's not falling so much in the areas where I did not. So the timing, we're 20 minutes in to the first mix on this epoxy. I like it. It's pretty level in here where the exposed real seed is. We get around to where the trigger is going to be, I may put a dot in it just to have it match. In fact, we're there now. Coming up on the spine. That'll be exposed. So I'm going to put a dot in there. And there. Go 90 degrees to that. Alright, so there's the spine. Go 90 degrees, and this will be under the reel seat. Oop, didn't have enough black in my brush. Still didn't have enough black in the brush. Now I'm going to turn it by hand here, or actually by controlling it with the power wrapper. for a little bit and let it set up a little more, and then I'll just put it in normal dry. If I put it in normal dry right now, it spins pretty fast. In fact, it'll probably be all right. It's, like I said, we got 22 minutes on this epoxy now. So let's just go to dry mode. Flip into the dryer motor. And that's it for marbling under an exposed reel seat. Next time I'll have the other two done, and then we'll put the reel seat on and start the wrap and all the accent colors and stuff we're going to do with that. So as always, guys, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.